Hello, everybody. This is Anthony. Be honest, my Mission Start podcast, and we have a bit of a break when it came to the Conover. By the time you're listening to us, some of us are in Las Vegas to cover a convention that we will be attending, which is I want to say it's like All American Comic Con or something like that. Anyways, it is a comic convention we'll be attending, and if you're in the area, if you're checking it out, we'll be there for sure in full force covering the convention, doing a live podcast. But aside from that, tonight we're talking about Summoners Con and the person who went into the convention, who survived, who went and saw all the amazing cosplays and whatnot of Summoners Con would be JD.
Hello.
And yeah, we're going to talk about it. So I think first off, for those who don't know, what is Summoners Con?
Summoners Con is a convention in LA that's purely for League of Legends.
I remember seeing some Facebook posts about it. I think it wasn't particularly with Summoners Con, but it was at the same time of it, I believe, or maybe a week or two prior. They were having a League of Legends event going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not quite sure if that was happening at the same time or near that time that Summoners Con was happening. So. But regardless, so it's a League of Legends based convention. So with that said, what exactly, how was this convention constructed? Because like normally at anime conventions you have a wide variety of like other things to do. For Summoners Con, that's specifically on League of Legends, like what was there to do at this convention?
Well, because it was only for League of Legends, they had all of this League of Legend-y stuff to do. They had panels for specifically like lane specific panels, so top, mid, bot, jungle, all this kind of stuff where you could go and you could listen to, pro players talk about playing strategies and stuff. And then they also had, panels with professional players and League of Legends artists and voice actors, kind of like the same thing you would see at an anime or comic convention, just a little bit more geared to one thing.
I see. And this was this a weekend event or like a one-day event for?
It was a weekend event. It was 2 days, which was nice.
Okay. So during your time there, what was well, first I want to ask, like, where was it being held at this year?
It was at the Fairplex Sheraton Conference Hotel and Center in Pomona, I think.
Oh, okay. So when you got there, what was the kind of, I don't say outcome, but like what was the turnout for the convention for that weekend?
It was Saturday was really busy. It was most of the events were on Saturday, so a lot of people were there, and we got there a little bit late. I think we got there about noon. And it was busy, and there were people, and the main hall and then the main events room were always full, and there was always stuff to do. Sunday was a little bit less. There weren't as many people there on Sunday. It was actually kind of empty towards the end. So I think for like a really one game specific convention, I think it had a really decent turnout. Like I wasn't expecting it to be too much, but I think they really did a good job of advertising, and I think they had a fantastic turnout.
Nice. Good to hear. Glad to hear. I had several friends of mine that were going, posting pictures on Facebook, and it's like, oh, that's right, that's conventions happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of cosplayers, there's one thing that I've always admired in the cosplay community, one of those groups I admire is the League of Legends group.
Mm-hmm.
Their costumes are
amazing.
Yes.
Always. League of Legends cosplayers are always like fantastic. For some reason you're just like, oh, there's a League cosplayer. Oh, it's amazing. That's a surprise, only not really.
Yeah, like it's always a cosplay group that I always admire, because like they range in a wide range of like different techniques when making a costume in terms of like straight up armor
Mm-hmm.
or having a unique approach to it. I definitely like that group for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to some of those cons, was it basically just that the entire weekend?
Yeah, actually, it was. I think it was. I mean, I love cosplaying from League of Legends just because it's so much variety in the costumes. The character designs that Riot comes out with is absolutely amazing. They range from completely fabric costumes with amazing props to um, armored costumes, like you said. And you definitely saw a huge variety of costumes and people showing off their skills. And the main entrance to the convention was kind of a hallway, and they had impromptu photo shoots where photographers brought, all of their gear and stuff and would set up kind of near the sides and just stop cosplayers and photograph them, and it was absolutely amazing. I saw so many fantastic cosplayers, and it was interesting because it was a League of Legends convention, and there were a lot of people there who I talked to who had never been to a convention before, and this one was their first.
Oh wow, that's
And so they had never been exposed to like a cosplay community or cosplayers in general, and for them seeing it in real life was like them meeting Disney princesses.
wow, that's one hell of a way to get into the convention scene.
Yeah, I went with three people. I went with three people who had never been to conventions before, and they walked in, and they're um, really, really big League players, or really into it, and yeah, it was like Disneyland for them.
Nice, nice, awesome. Um, Concerning the cosplayers that you saw there, any particular one that stood out to you when you were there?
Oh, there were so many. I actually got to meet two of my favorite cosplayers who I follow on social media. There was Venzi Props, who was absolutely the nicest person I think I've ever met, and she was there, and she had a booth there, and I got to meet her, and she was absolutely fantastic. And then I also ran into another cosplayer whose handle is Cosplay Prodigy, and I ran into her kind of like in the dealer's hall, and she was in a Star Guardian Lux cosplay that she had made literally in like 2 days,
That's insane.
and it was so spot on, and she was so adorable, and she gave me a hug, and it was kind of, wow, senpai. Um, but no, she was really cute, and I was really excited. But all the cosplayers, they actually had a cosplay lounge,
Hmm.
which was really cool. It was off a room dedicated to cosplayers. It had like all the things that you would need as a cosplayer at a convention, repair kits and stuff. And I kind of just hung out there for a while and talked to some of the cosplayers there, and it was nice. You got to share like information. How did you make this? What did you make this out of? It was cool, and every cosplay was fantastic. I got not too many pictures, but the ones I did get were of just amazing people. So cosplay scene, very good.
Awesome. It's funny you mentioned the cosplay lounge. That was something that was I wanted to introduce maybe like 2 years ago, and it was Anime Expo this year and last year. And from my experience, at least when they had their Anime Expo, I think it's great to have. I think it's a great place to have for cosplayers to go in and just relax, or if they need to have some repair kits.
Hmm.
Just by chance, they have like dressing room setups there as well. Just out of curiosity.
I didn't see any, but the bathrooms at the convention center were humongous.
Oh, were they?
They were huge. I mean, these biggest bathrooms I've ever seen. I don't know if that's a point of conversation, but huge bathrooms with like full length mirrors and stuff. They were top notch. So
That's
I saw a lot of cosplayers, putting on body paint and where they needed like more mirrors and stuff in the bathrooms, and no one seemed to mind, and the convention staff didn't seem to mind too much that they were like putting on body paint.
that's pretty cool. I mean, like, there's a okay. Like usually in bathrooms, like when the first day of convention, perfectly fine. Like by the end of the convention, it is like walking to apocalypse in there. Like it's
Yep.
just yeah. But yeah, no, that's cool. No, more room the better.
Yeah, I definitely spent, it was 85, 87 degrees
Hmm.
in Pomona that weekend, and me living in Daly City, it was hot.
Oh,
For,
I can only imagine for those cosplayers who are wearing like full armor cosplays, like on.
yeah,
Oh man.
I mean, I was wearing a Wicked Lulu cosplay, which was just, it was all black. But I mean, like, there were people wearing, like, I wouldn't even be able to survive in costumes like that. But I mean, I had to spend, like, a good 30 minutes in the bathroom, wig off, hat off, just, like, fanning myself because I was dying. But it was,
Yeah.
no one bothered me. So, good bathrooms.
Good to hear. Um, so speaking of the convention, so what exactly was the layout of this convention? Like, where was the dealers hall adjacent to, say, like the artist alley or like the other panels? Like,
Mhm. It was an interesting setup location-wise for everything. I think the actual conference center, the Fairplex Center, was an interesting architectural feat. I don't know. It was interesting setup to begin with. So basically you enter the conference center and it's one large hallway.
hmm
And then on either side of that hallway they have rooms set up. And so on the left side, so right when you walk in, they have the registration desks.
hmm
And you get your badge and you walk in. And on the left side, they have this Challenger room, which is for people who purchase their Challenger pass. Um, I'm assuming it's like a VIP pass to another convention. I didn't have access to the Challenger room, but that's where all of the pro players were giving panels,
Ah.
all of the lane specific panels for challengers to see.
hmm
I think it was more geared to like people who want to become pro players, um,
Interesting.
which
Okay.
was interesting. And then the room next to it on that same side was the main events room, which was it took up most of the rest of the rooms that they could partition off. It was this giant hall with a main stage up front, which the stage was huge. And this is where like their you know, opening and closing ceremonies took place, all of their main panels, all of the like costume contests and anything that was like a main event took their place there, and also all of the other panels took place in this room as well, which was cool. The room was amazing because like usually in conventions you'll have like a main events room and they'll just have chairs on the floor. Um, but as you get further back, it gets harder to see because you're just sitting behind rows of people and there's no, like, they don't go up at all.
Okay.
This one, it was the same setup. It was just chairs on the ground. But on either side of the stage, there were two huge screens and they were showing what was happening on the stage on these screens.
Okay. Okay. So they're making a accommodation for people who may be pretty or further back. They can see
Yeah,
what's happening on stage. Okay.
exactly, yeah. And for people with like terrible eyesight, like myself, it was really nice because I could see exactly what was happening on the stage and all the reactions of the people's faces on stage and stuff like that. It was really nice just to be able to see, even if you were, in one of the first like 5 rows, you could still like use the screens to look at faces and stuff. And they also had show matches, League of Legends show matches, kind of like in between main events and stuff.
hmm
And they also projected those games on the screens as
Oh,
well.
I see. So they had like actual matches of League of
Yeah,
Legends happening in between. Okay. All right.
yeah.
Cool. I like that idea. I think I think having something to watch or something to look at if you're say if you're going to like a masquerade or to a costume contest and
hmm
like do some downtime, like I that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, especially, I didn't stay for the costume contest, but for the costume contest, it would be nice to have it in other, like, masquerades and contests and stuff, where you have these screens so you can see the costume. Because, sometimes they're so far away, you can just, all you see is, like, a person wearing a costume, and you can't see any of, like, the detail they put into it, and it's just nice to give them that moment of, this is your costume, we want to showcase it, it's up on two giant flat screens. so everyone can see it.
I can imagine somebody trying to picture what's going on stage. You know, they can see it like a big blue square.
Like blob.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was nice. I really enjoyed that room. I actually spent most of my time there. But on the other side of the hall, in the other rooms, which was just one giant room, was the dealer's hall, artist alley, as well as autographs, as well as their CSL stage, which was another kind of, you could sit down and they had two giant screens and you could watch League of Legends matches. It was specifically for like the CSL tournaments of like various universities and their League of Legends teams, and they were competing and they were doing like finals or something there. But they also had something like 75 or like 100, it looked like a lot to me, of just desktop computers set up for people to come and play League.
Oh, nice.
Which was cool, because, you know, you could just, like, wait and sit at a computer and then play a game of League. Or they also had, like, some tables way in the back, so if you brought, like, your laptop or something, you could also sit down and play League. They had a lot of places where you could either sit or watch or play League.
Nice.
Which makes sense, because League convention.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's cool. That's pretty awesome.
I thought the incorporation of technology in this convention was like its main like attraction, which was nice.
That is an interesting thought to have, especially with these conventions. Embracing technology in terms of like being more of a helpful thing than having an on-a-side thing is very good idea in my opinion. Some other conventions, they have the tech there, like they'll have like the app, but like doesn't quite utilize anything else per se.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really cool. I like the idea of like having it in the forefront and having it as a kind of like a user friendly or user like helping situation. So that's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat. And then the dealer's hall and artist alley was pretty small. To be honest.
How small?
I only saw one actual quote dealer who had League of Legends merch. The rest were artists that were there, and I don't know how many were there. It looked like less than 50.
Okay.
Less than, I'm gonna say less than 40, less than 30.
Okay.
It was it was small, but I think that was because the convention wanted to keep the merchandise and the art strictly League of Legends, which really narrows down the amount of artists who are willing to apply and have that much stuff.
That's very true. I think definitely like having it narrowed down to specifically since the League of Legends type of deal, like having it just narrowed down to League of Legends stuff, then I mean, it makes sense. I like the fact that you like it was like 50, 40, 30.
I mean, I'm not really good at guessing numbers, but it only took about 30 minutes to walk through and look at everything and really look at everything.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, the stuff that they had was amazing.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. Just as equally as the cosplayers, League of Legends artists are really good.
Like mind-blowingly good. Like Lily Peachy was there, and just all of these. I mean, Vinci Props also had all of her props and stuff that she makes, and I actually bought a non-league merch item. It's gonna kill me. I can't remember her name, but I bought her children's book that she makes as well. She makes this amazing League of Legends art. My friend bought a Jinx pillow from her, and I bought this book called Ivan and the Hamster Knights, and it was just cute. And they had their League of Legends stuff, but they also had, on the side, very small amount of their other merchandise and stuff that they make, which I thought was really nice.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So when you were there, the location of the convention, like how far was it from like the food places around? Like was it it was in a walking distance, or was it one of those cases where like it's probably a better idea to bring food from home, or
they had a cafe there, and contrary to all convention laws, the food was pretty cheap.
Right. Oh.
Which is,
Whoa. Oh.
I know, right? That was like, wait, what? The food was actually pretty, I mean, if you got, if you got like something, but they didn't have meals. They had like snacky food.
Oh, okay.
So it was like, I got pastries and coffee and chips, and they had granola bars and bottled waters and stuff like that. I think when I went there in the morning and I got a coffee and some pastries and a bottle of water, and it was only like $3.
Still pretty good.
Which was like, today I got coffee and a cookie from a cafe down the street from my work, and I paid almost $6. So it was pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, that was the only food place around where the convention was that I saw. My friends and I drove about 5 minutes to a mall that was kind of near there. It was like a 5-minute drive on the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a ton of food places over there. So I say car, good for food places. Parking was free at the convention, so you didn't have to worry about going in and out of the parking lot.
Nice.
You could just go and come back whenever you wanted because you didn't have to worry about finding parking or there not being parking or having to pay $30 more for parking. So that was kind of nice. But that was the only food thing that was there.
Okay. My two questions to that is like, one, when you went to go get food, were you in costume?
Yes,
Two,
I was.
And my second question is, did you get the obligatory random person asking, why is everybody in costumes question?
Absolutely. It happens every time. The best thing, though, is when you go in costume and someone recognizes you, what character you are, and you're like, okay, and they, like, make references to you while they're, like, waiting your table, and you're just like, I see you. I know the secrets of your life.
Yeah, it's funny because like, for me, I'm not one of those guys who, when they see like somebody like in costume that it's really awesome. I'm not like going to totally fanboy out. I'm like, oh my god,
That's
your
me.
costumes are awesome. I'll just like, for me, I'll just like look at them. I'll just give like a nod. It's like, like, yeah, your costume's good. And just
Yeah,
walk away.
I understand your life and I accept it.
But it's always fun to have. It's always interesting to see the normal people look at us cosplayers from time to time.
Yeah, I feel like the place where we went to eat, I was the only person in the restaurant in a costume because it was kind of, it was a ways from the convention center and my friends weren't in costume and I was just kind of like, I'll just sit here in my purple wig and eat my katsu curry and enjoy the stairs, I guess.
Nice. um, so, in terms of the staff there at Summoners Con, how were the staff there?
The staff was nice. I didn't see much of them. And the ones that I did saw, I think the only staff interactions that I had was when a staff member came up to me and was like, oh, just if you were wondering, there's a cosplay lounge if you want to get out of the heat and relax and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's very sweet. And the second staff interaction was two of the staffers came up to me and asked to take a picture with me. So those were the only staff interactions that I had personally, and they were very nice. The problem that I did hear going around, I talked to a cosplayer, he was a gender-bent Jinx. The staff had made him put a shirt back on. He wasn't wearing a shirt.
How was he like physically? Is it because maybe he was maybe a little overweight, or is it?
I mean, he was very fit. His costume was very nice. They just wanted to keep the convention PG friendly, it's a little kid friendly, so they didn't want anyone to be too uncovered. And I think that happened to a few people as well. So, I mean, that was the only problem. He wasn't wearing a shirt, so they made him put a shirt back on.
I see. Okay.
Which, I mean, that gets kind of dicey when you go into the logistics of it.
It does.
They're a fairly new convention, I think, and they just want to try and keep everyone happy. So there were some kids there that I saw that were clearly under the age of, like, 13. Mm-hmm. So it might have, it depends on the situation.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, for early conventions, like, it's more or less the early years of a convention is feeling out, what exactly works, what does it, what precautions they want to take versus, what they've
Hmm.
seen in other conventions and what their age group are aiming for.
Yeah.
So I understand. It is a dicey. It is something that is subject that has been talked about in the cosplay community. So I just say, but yeah, I definitely understand. Aside from that, though, from the sounds of things, the staff was pretty good to everybody else, and no stories of them like being bad or anything.
No, I thought they, organized the convention well. I didn't hear anything about like any harassment or staff being rude or staff being unresponsive. I think overall this convention was very mellow and there was nothing, too extreme. I mean, you go to these larger conventions and they're like, someone is doing this and the staff is not doing this or something, and I thought the convention there, it was pretty conflict free. So the staff really didn't have to respond to much because everyone was very calm and very respectful of everything else.
Right, definitely. Okay. I was gonna say, man, I lost train of thought. All right, there it goes. In terms of your time there at the convention, like we've been to conventions, and only at conventions, these weird, strange, funny moments happen from time to time. Did you ran across any of them when you were there at SummersCon?
Well, because it was not a comic convention or an anime convention, I feel like it was a little bit on a different side of the weird things happening. It was all League players there, so there was a lot of like League lingo going on. People yelling at each other, get wrecked, or GG, or, some pro players were there and they would like yell out like, they would start with like the I love you, blah, 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 and it would just go on forever and stuff. So that was like, I feel like it was kind of expected at a League of Legends convention. There was also a lot of shipping going on amongst the cosplayers. There was my friend was cosplaying as Katarina, and there was another cosplayer there. I forget what he was, and he was like, I ship us together because our characters could be together. It should be in the lore. And they just talked about shipping each other for a while, actually. I think it went on a little bit uncomfortably long.
I see.
Because I was just kind of there, standing next to them.
You were basically the third wheel the entire
I was a little tugboat along the ship.
time. Funny. That's interesting. I can understand people just like yelling random things, especially. I think it happens at any convention you think about it.
Oh, and there was a ton of John Cena going on.
What? Well, I'm not surprised. Kind of. Well,
It was awful. Everywhere I went.
wait. So was it like every 5 minutes somebody was like doing the theme song of John Cena?
No, I mean, like, not every 5 minutes, but I mean, like, I feel like it happened at least, like, 3 times each day.
Hmm. Okay. What?
Which, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I wish it would stop.
Well, I think I could put it simply that at conventions, like people will turn off their brains sometimes,
Of course. They're in convention land.
yeah, and when they do, memes will fly. So
The memes do come out.
yeah, but I hear you for sure. Sometimes it gets annoying. I think the one meme that I'm glad it's over, but it.
If you say
so
the game, I'm gonna cry.
You read my mind.
Were you gonna say the game?
Oh man, yes, I was.
No!
was.
Today I read something online. It was like something written backwards, and it was like, if you read this, you've lost the game.
Yeah.
And I think I just started like crying because the game.
Right, definitely. No, yeah, that was the one that was like for so long that, I mean, I got tired of it. And like, I remember like, what was it? I don't know. It was, I think it was like during a masquerade. It was like everybody like groaned like when they did it for a skit. It was like,
It's like this like whole like Oh no, like a communal face palm.
Yeah, yeah, we were all united in one for that one moment.
That one face palm.
Yeah. Okay, but I mean, it's good to hear. Glad you had a lot of fun there. Just out of curiosity, what were the price ranges for the badges there?
um, a little on the expensive side. I mean, you get up close to the date of the actual convention, and they were only selling 1 day passes at like $80 each,
Okay.
which was a lot of money. Let me see if I can find it, because it was kind of like, yeah. So 1 day for Saturday was 74. 1 day for Sunday was 74.
How much for the whole weekend?
2 day weekend for a regular ticket was $90, and then 2 days if you bought a shirt with it was $104,
Okay.
and then the Challenger Pass was $120 for the weekend.
Okay, so with those prices, was the money worth it to go to this convention for that price that you went for?
I would say no, but I'm cheap. I would say the prices would be really more reasonable if they were more in like the 2 day pass being $70 or $50. But I'm cheap, so maybe that's just me.
I I would say that it's not just you. I would say because the average price for a badge for a convention badge, say for anime conventions, ranges
Yeah,
anywhere between like 30 to about $75, which
I
75.
would say $75 is about the max that I've seen for a weekend pass.
Yes, and that is for a weekend pass, not specifically a one-day badge.
Exactly.
And Anime Expo being the most expensive when it comes to that. Outside of that, like the other convention I've been to that is more than that, but it's worth it, is Comic Con, where I paid like $180 for. No, was it 180 or no? It was like 100 something bucks for like 2 days, but there was so much
But
happening at.
it's Comic-Con.
Yeah, there's
You
so
know, it
yeah.
it has a legacy to it.
Plus, there's so many off-site events happening in the area where you don't really need to have a badge to go in. That was happening. So that is spendy. Even for somebody who for me like who's been to a lot of conventions and have seen like different price range, and given more press. So like we, when given the option, like they'll give us a press pass, and sometimes if
Yeah.
they don't, then we'll have to pay. But in my opinion, I think that's a bit too much.
I agree. It's a bit expensive for the convention, and I think that they have to compensate their prices because they're a smaller convention and they have all of these extravagant, bells and whistles, like all of these technologies and all of these computers and all of these screens. They have to pay for it somehow.
Yeah.
And I think upping the prices on the badges is their way to do it. Um,
Yeah, I wonder exactly what. I kind of wonder how much money they were working with for the prices to be that high.
yeah. But I mean, all of the badges that they had, the single day badges all sold out, the 2 day standard package all sold out. So, I mean, actually, everything sold out.
That is interesting.
So the amount of badges that they had all sold out.
Okay, I mean that is interesting to hear in terms of like even at the price range of that high, they were still able to sell out badges. Um,
It's amazing to me.
yeah, that is interesting to hear. How many badges were in total? Just like if you know off
I'm
the top of your head.
not sure. I'm on their website now. I'm kind of like perusing it, and doesn't say.
Interesting.
It just says sold out next to all of their names, so I'm assuming they did well.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I think I would I have to wonder how many badges they sold specifically
Yeah.
to
Because
get that.
Sunday felt really slow.
Hmm.
I mean, it felt smaller and there was definitely a lot less people there. But at the same time, a lot of people did leave a lot earlier
Hmm.
on Sunday, because there wasn't as much going on in the evening. So I guess it just depends on when you went and you know all that jazz.
Right, definitely, definitely. Okay. No, that's good to hear. That's pretty awesome. So I'm trying to think, like, overall, like, your experience there, everything that you went through, all the, the fun, good times, like, what was at the end of the day, at the end of the weekend, like, how did you enjoy the convention despite the price? Like, overall, what was your thoughts on the convention?
I thought it was fun. I thought it was a nice way to spend a weekend. It would have been better if it wasn't as hot. Because, I mean, it was the last weekend in November, and it was like almost 90 degrees. But maybe that's my Bay Area self kind of complaining about the weather. Because anything over 75 is hot to me.
Right,
Um,
right.
but other people didn't seem to mind it. I thought the convention had a lot to do. If it had a lot to do if you were really into League of Legends.
I see.
If you weren't, if you were just kind of like I kind of play sometimes, you might have been bored because, you know, how other conventions have maybe some non-related stuff like speed dating or cosplay chess, stuff that doesn't have to do with any specific fandom or any specific show or game or comic or whatever.
Hmm.
This was all League of Legends. Like 100%. Everything they did had to do with League of Legends all the way. So if you weren't like a really intense player or wanted to know all these things about League of Legends, you might have been bored. But other than that, I thought it was fun. It was a great way to meet other players and see the community kind of gather. I've never seen the League of Legends community like gather in like one spot.
Hmm.
So it was kind of cool to see that happen and other players meet other players in real life, and it was cool. I thought it was neat.
Okay. Um, earlier I wanted to ask actually was I would assume that there were some gatherings happening at at the convention.
Cosplay gatherings?
Yeah, yeah.
There were not.
What?
There were no cosplay gatherings, which was weird to me because usually there are cosplay gatherings, but there weren't.
Was there a reason why, or was it just that
I'm
nobody?
assuming because it was only one thing that it was to everyone else. It was just one big cosplay gathering because you were already with all of the members of the game that you're playing with,
Hmm.
or you're cosplaying as. So it wasn't like, oh, this show, cosplayers from this show are meeting up at this time, cosplayers from this show are meeting up at this time. It wasn't like that. There were actually no scheduled gatherings, and I think they should have done that, you know, like maybe
Yeah,
this,
yeah, I agree.
I don't know how they would break it up. I'm sure they would come up with something. Um, because, you know, it would be nice to have gatherings, but I don't think that, I don't know. I think that they should have done it. I think that would have made it feel a lot more convention-y.
Hmm.
Um,
That is
yeah.
that is weird. That is weird. Um, I would agree with you. I think that they. I mean, look, the onus is not always on the convention to set up gatherings. Like many a times at the conventions, it's usually on the fans who would
Yeah.
set it up. Um, so I, sort of say, should Summer's Con had a convention set up for the cosplayers? Yes, it should. The cosplayers come up together and do a gathering and announce where it's going to be at. Yeah, they should. So, um, yeah, it's a little weird, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt just for the sake that it's a convention that's still kind of growing its wings, and maybe some of these people who are going, some of them, you have to say like first timers, may not know like the ins and outs of how specifically some convention stuff has. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And there was one, I totally forgot. There was one, I accidentally walked out of the convention and a ton of cosplayers were, it wasn't like a gathering, but a ton of cosplayers had just met up and took a picture as kind of like the cosplayers of Summoners Con. So there was that, but that only lasted like maybe 15 minutes, if not less, because it was just like one group picture.
That's interesting. Very interesting, but good to know. I think I may be out of questions.
That's a first.
I know, right? Yeah, I can't think of anything at the moment. To be fully detailed what Summoners Con is, your experience and everything about it. And you said you shared your thoughts on it. I think the one other thing I would say, and this might be something already redundant, but like pros and cons of Summoners Con. What were the pros of the convention, and what are the cons? For people who are like, forgot what exactly we just talked about for the past like 20 minutes.
Too long, didn't read.
Yeah.
Pros, League of Legends is kind of cool. Cosplayers are super awesome. Really big TVs. League of Legends, awesome art. Cons, which is funny because it was a con. Haha. Really kind of small, kind of expensive. Could be boring if you aren't into League of Legends that much. No food places near and walking distance. Kind of expensive. Oh wait, I said that already.
Yeah.
But yeah, pros and cons. Too long, didn't listen. Skip to the end. Listen to that.
All right. Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you, JD, for joining me to talk about everything Summoners Con. Before we end the show, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at JD Cosplay. That's just the two little letters, JD Cosplay. And on Cosplay Amino as JD Cosplay, and on Instagram as Miso, MMIISO. Miso.
Awesome. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You can follow the work that we and JD do on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. This podcast will be up on our website in the podcast section and on iTunes and Stitcher. And if you're watching YouTube videos and wondering where the podcast episodes that is coming up is, it's TBA. We're behind on that. So, but yes, you can follow us on all three other platforms if you want to get your Conover podcast audio awesomeness. So that's gonna do it for us. The next Conover episode won't be for actually no, I'll take that back. It will be up probably the next coming weeks. The convention will be attending. We're gonna have a bunch of special guest interviews happening on the show floor, and we're gonna be there doing live podcast recordings. So that's gonna be pretty awesome. And I think we might expand it out into one big episode or multiple. So definitely keep an eye out in the future for that. So with that said, this is Anthony Biana saying, see you later, guys, and we'll see you